Welcome everybody to my next update on my action RPG. So on these 2 weeks, I made a lot of progress. It's probably the most progress that I made since I started the game. Now it may not be progress that I can show easily, but of course, most of this progress was made in the code and the systems. One of the reasons for that is because I started streaming. So I started streaming on Twitch every weekday for about 5 to 6 hours in the morning. So basically, all my free time is now devoted to finishing this game. One of the first features that I implemented, you may be noticing now, is that now I split the accounts. So hardcore and normal characters are now split. So before you had created any number of characters, even though if they were hardcore and normal, and they were sharing the same stash and the same items. Of course, that's not ideal in a game like this. You need to have those separate in order to keep their progression individual. So now, if you create a new character that is on hardcore, it's gonna be separate from a normal character, and you are able to filter all of your characters here. So if you start a game with a hardcore character, it's gonna be fresh compared to a normal character. So this is the first feature of many. So I'm gonna try to get over the other things that I implemented in the game. So let's get into it. Okay, so this first feature is a small one, but I think it's pretty important. So before, all of the consumables, so all of the items that can stack, will only be able to stack either if you pick them up like this, so if you pick them off the stash, or if you deposit them into the stash like this, then we're able to stack and create the new piles if necessary. Now I made it so that you can actually split them, so you can grab one and then you can right click to be able to split into any number of piles. And also you can meld them together. So this is a small feature, but it was necessary for the management of the inventory. Okay, so this next feature is one of the coolest ones, at least for me, in terms of designing new stuff. And that is the ability to grant the player skills with item modifiers. So before, the player was only able to learn skills by slotting brands, which are these items, which of course is the main way of learning skills. All of your skills are shown here. But now I have the ability to grant the player with skills that are embedded into items. So you can see this shield is granting me a skill there. The skill can be a fixed level, it can be a rolled random level between a range. Also, the ability to grant skills with passive skills. So on the passive tree, now I can grant the player skills. So the moment I equip this, it's gonna grant me the skill. Now, of course, the data is not there yet, but the skill is already granted. So now I can actually slot this skill into any of my slots, and I can cast it. So now this skill that the shield is granting me is this area of effect curse that inflicts a slow into all enemies. So that is the skills that are granted by items. So now I'm gonna get into the enhancement system a little bit because it's a system that I talked about real quick on my previous video. But since I was showing my progress of the 8 months, I wasn't really able to go over the specifics real too much. So I'm gonna go over the specifics of the enhancement system. So this is the enhancement system. Each skill consists of a number of slots up to 4. So on normal brands, these slots can be seen here on the brand on the item itself. So at higher levels, you have more chance of getting more slots unlocked. There's also a consumable item that allows you to unlock more slots for the brand. So dropping them is not the only option to increase the slots. So you can slot up to 4 enhancements on each skill from a big list of enhancement type of skills. So these enhancements are basically modifiers to the skill. So for example, this one is granting a critical chance. Most of them have a small downside attached to them, usually increasing the cost, but they are designed to be able so that for the player to slot 4 of these and change their skills in a way. Each one of these can only be slotted once across all of your skills. So if I use one of these here, I'm not gonna be able to use it in any other skill. The enhancements are kept here, so if you lose the skill, so if you unequip the brand or the item that grants you the skill, the enhancement is just gonna get removed. You're not gonna lose it, and it's not attached to the actual brand. So in order to illustrate this enhancement system, I'm just gonna apply this major expansion enhancement to the curse of the skill from the shield. You can see that the area grew a lot. That's because this major expansion enhancement is increasing the area by 40%. And then you can actually enhance any of the other slots that you have. You can see that I cannot use the same one in any other skill. And now to alleviate that, I'm gonna have this list be as big as I can make it. So I can create any number of enhancements. And I'm also making small variations or weaker variations of every enhancement. So you can have the option of use multiple in different skills. Now the enhancements that come from items are fixed. So for example, the skill that this shield is granting me, which is this one, always comes with just one slot, but I can customize this. So this enhancement system is pretty flexible, and I can make it even better in the future. But for now, I think it's working pretty well. Now let's get into the skills granted by the passive tree. So you may know that I have a passive tree in my game. Of course, it's not finished. I need content, but the framework is here. The next thing that I implemented after the items is passives that grant you a skill. In this case, this passive grants you an owl companion, which is a minion that follows you. So this is part of the class system that I'm gonna have when I start the content phase. So later in the game, you're gonna be able to specialize in a class, and this class is gonna grant you a specific skill tree, which is gonna be really powerful. But of course, you're only gonna be able to pick one of these classes. So this is a skill granted by one of those classes. When you apply this skill, you're immediately gonna see it in your skill list. You can see here the summon owl is now available. So now I can actually summon this owl. Of course, there's no animations or anything, but here's the owl. So this minion in particular is invulnerable. However, just like with any other skill, I can actually modify this. I can add, minion speed, minion damage, any of the minion modifiers, or basically you can also see that the enhancements, only the ones that are possible to slot, are lit up. So you cannot apply any of these other ones, only the ones that you can select. So that's another thing that I did to make the system more understandable. I may have to hide them, so I may hide all of these so you are not overwhelmed by the choices. Also, the enhancements, you can see down there that they have a level requirement, so a lot of these are gonna be locked at the beginning. You're only gonna see the basic ones. So that is the skills that are granted by passives. If you respect the tree of the skill is gonna disappear. The same is gonna happen with the items that you unequip, and it's gonna free those enhancements from the skills that you were using. So that is the skills that are granted by items and passives. Okay, so another feature that I'm gonna mention real quick is that now in this NPC, which is the Mystic, you are able to buy the brands. So these brands are gonna cost very little gold, and they're gonna start showing up here in the inventory of the NPC as you level up. So the more you level up, the more skills are gonna unlock. So you can see here it's showing all of the skills that I have currently in the game, which are not much, but they are organized by attribute. So let's get into the next feature, which is the movement skills on monsters and also the monster rework. Okay, so this next feature is probably the coolest one that I implemented, in my opinion. So I reworked the monsters and the modifiers that monsters of higher rarities can roll with. So in order to test the new features of the monsters as well, I made a skeleton berserker, which is a new monster type. So this monster has a movement ability, which is a spin dash towards a location. which also applies as low sometimes. So I'm gonna spawn this monster just to showcase the monster itself. So it's gonna try to spin towards me. You can see there. It only uses that when it's a certain distance from me. It also has a spin in place, which knocks back enemies, and a regular chop attack. The spin is pretty pretty fast. This makes it kind of dangerous in the dungeon. I was playtesting a little bit inside the dungeon, and seeing a couple of these gets a little hectic. You can see there that it applies slow. So this is the monster that I made. It's just a variation of the skeletons. It can also apply as low. So now I'm gonna showcase the cool part of the system, which is the rarities. So before this was working, but it wasn't complete. Now monsters have a more a better modifier system. You can see this one. It shows you what is giving it, the modifiers. And it also has a tier, so you can immediately see how strong the modifier of the monsters are. So blue monsters, which are the unusual ones, can only have up to 2 modifiers. So they are only slightly stronger than the regular mods. And then we have exceptional monsters. Now these ones, they come with unique modifiers. So these modifiers can actually grant skills to the monsters now. So the monsters can spawn with auras, but also they can spawn with custom skills. So I'm gonna spawn a couple of exceptional monsters here until one of them spawns with the skill I want. Now you can see this one spawn with the Bloody Spike skill. You can see down there, cast Bloody Spikes. So this is one of the custom skills. In my game, every monster can use any skill. So I can actually give this monster a skill that they can use. You can see there that it casted that Nova of Spikes. So I can give dangerous modifiers to any monster. This one in particular inflicts bleeding. So we are gonna have a higher variety of monsters. You know, it's another axis of randomness when the monsters can come with random skills. The way I achieved that is that I gave every monster a generic skill animation, and that generic animation is able to spawn any skill. So now I made another skill, which is an aura. I'm gonna spawn a couple and see if any of them actually spawn with the aura. Okay, so this one spawned with the aura. You can see it has a circle around them, which is the aura that they're casting. This one in particular is granting them a lot of movement speed. You can also see down there on the bar that is that the effect is taking place. So since this is an aura, it's gonna affect all the monsters around. So if I spawn a couple of slimes here, they're gonna be affected by the aura the moment they get in. You can see there, they're getting affected. And they're getting slow. They're getting sped up. So this is another type of modifier that I implemented into the monsters. The ability to cast auras around them. So this is gonna create some dangerous scenarios inside the dungeon where, you know, a pack of monsters may spawn with very powerful modifiers and it may be a challenge. So those are the enhancements that I made to the monsters. Of course, I can add a lot of modifiers. I just made the most basic ones, the damage and resistant ones. But I can give them custom skills, custom auras. You know, and I can scale any number of modifiers on them. So I think that's the bulk of the update for this week. Like I said, it was not gonna be much to show, but it's a lot of work under the hood. So I said in my previous video that it was gonna take me around a month to finish all the features before content phase. To be honest, that's probably gonna be less than that. It's maybe 3 weeks away. So, and the reason for that, like I said at the beginning, is because I started streaming on Twitch and my productivity while streaming has been increased by a lot. So I'm getting a lot of stuff done. So if you have some time And if you wanna see what I'm working on currently, you can check out my Twitch. You can just get in there, ask some questions or whatever. You're welcome to do so. If you don't want to, you can join the Discord as well. I have a Discord. Or you can just comment here in the video. So please like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next update in 2 weeks. And if you can, pop in onto my stream. I stream every weekday on the mornings for about 5 to 6 hours, except when I make a video like today. So see you in the next update and take care.